Today we're going to take a look at the newly announced 2022 Honda Rancher 420 ATV model lineup. We're going to break down the model lineup differences and explain what features you can and cannot get between the different Rancher models. Now we won't be doing a deep dive into each model, as I'll be doing videos on each individual model in the near future where I go more in depth on each one. But first, if you guys find any info in this video helpful, please take a second and hit the like button. Liking the video and commenting below really helps with growing this channel through YouTube's algorithm, and I really appreciate the help. First up, let's touch on a few things to save some time later on in the video. All of these models share a 420cc fuel-injected and water-cooled engine. If I say DCT, that means it has an automatic transmission. More specifically, a dual clutch transmission, which is the type of automatic transmission used in all automatic ATVs from Honda, except for the Rincon. EPS is short for electric power steering, and ES means electric shift, which is another one of their transmission types next to the DCT automatic and your plain Jane foot shift transmission. And one more thing to note, all Rancher models will have a solid rear axle in the back, unless I say IRS, for those independent rear suspension models. Now, one more thing before we dive into all the models. When talking about model IDs, TRX is generic for ATV. The next number is the engine size, so we'll throw 420 in there. Then you have the letter T, which will mean two-wheel drive, or the letter F that means four-wheel drive. The next letter tells you the transmission. If it's an M, that means it has the manual shift or foot shift transmission, as some people call it, while the letter A will mean it's an automatic, and E means electric shift. Then you have the numbers 1, 2, or 5, and 6. The 1 means it has a straight axle without EPS, the 2 means a straight axle with EPS, while the 5 means IRS without EPS, and the 6 means IRS with EPS. It may sound confusing, but once you get it down, you'll be able to tell what features a model has just by its model ID. Now, let's finally jump into the 2022 Rancher lineup. The first model is the FourTrax Rancher 2x4, which is the plain Jane foot shift model and the cheapest Rancher you can buy at $55.99. Its model ID is TRX420 TM1. The second model is the FourTrax Rancher ES 2x4 at $58.99, and its model ID is TRX420 TE1. Everything stays the same on this model except for two things. You're swapping out the foot shift transmission for the electric shift setup, and with that also comes an electronic gauge cluster too, instead of just having a few dummy lights, and this now stays a standard feature for the rest of the models. Now we're jumping into the 4x4 models, so I won't keep mentioning four-wheel drive or 4x4 after each model name, so we can save some time, as there are about 28 different Rancher models that we need to get to. The first is called the FourTrax Rancher 4x4, and it's the plain Jane four-wheel drive with a foot shift transmission and no other bells and whistles. It's exactly $1,000 more than the 2x4, bringing it up to $65.99, and its model ID is TRX420 FM1. The next model is called the FourTrax Rancher EPS, and it takes that exact same model we just talked about and adds EPS into the mix for an additional $700, bringing you up to $72.99, and its model ID is TRX420 FM2. The next Rancher is called the FourTrax Rancher ES for electric shift, not to be confused with an automatic, as you still have to change gears, but it's by clicking a button up and down on the left side of the handlebar. This model is priced at $68.99, and its model ID is TRX420 FE1. I want to take a quick second and say thank you to Southern Honda Powersports for opening their doors to me and allowing me to come pick through their inventory for these videos. They are a massive Honda Powersports dealer here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with tons of inventory from new Hondas to used Harleys and everything in between that they sell to people from all over the USA. So check out the link in the description below and head over to their website to see if they can save you some money on your next toy. Now, the next model is called the FourTrax Rancher DCT EPS. And just in case you forgot, DCT means it has an automatic transmission, but you can flip a switch and put it in the ESP mode for electric shift program, so that way you can manually change gears by clicking the up and down arrows on the left side of the handlebar, just like an ES model. This model is priced at $77.99 and its model ID is TRX420 FA2. And now we're stepping into more of the Cadillac models, so to say. The next model is called the FourTrax Rancher DCT IRS. When jumping from the last model, we're dropping the straight axle in the rear to add independent rear suspension, but we're also dropping EPS. That's not the only thing to change though, as with the IRS models, you get a larger and more comfortable seat, as well as a disc brake in the rear to replace the drum brake. This model is priced at $75.99 and its model ID is TRX420 FA5. Then we move to the last Rancher in the lineup, and it's called the FourTrax Rancher DCT IRS EPS. It takes the model we just talked about and adds back in EPS, which bumps your price up $700 up to $82.99, and everything else stays the same. This model's ID is TRX420 FA6. Now, how much of a difference does the IRS make over the other models when it comes to their numbers? Well, you jump from 6.7 inches of suspension travel up front to 7.3, and in the rear you go from 6.7 up to 8.5 inches. You also go from 7.2 inches of ground clearance up to 9.2 inches. Now, I won't bore you with the length and width differences, but keep in mind they do alter the unit enough to bring its turning radius from 9.2 feet up to 11.5. And now, a couple more quick things to note. Honda uses different wording sometimes with the DCT models. Sometimes they will put Rancher AT to let you know it's an automatic, but sometimes they just say Rancher DCT, while sometimes it says Rancher Automatic DCT. They never use the same wordage twice, which does nothing but add to the confusion, and that's why I bring up model IDs. There is no confusion when trying to figure out what features a model has if you know the ID. Also, all of the prices shown in this video are for their standard colors. If you go with the Phantom Camo finish, it does add $500 to your price tag. And that's a quick overview of the different Rancher models for 2022. Hopefully it sheds some light on the differences between them and makes it a little easier on you if you're in the market for one of these. Also, if you're confused by the Foreman and Rubicon 520 model lineup from Honda, I did a breakdown video on those a few days ago, and I'll throw a link down below if you're interested. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thanks again for watching and for all of the support lately. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.